Hi, my name is Jason Hardink. I'm the principal keyboard of the Utah Symphony, and I will be the piano soloist in the upcoming Utah Symphony performances of From the Canyons to the Stars by the French composer Olivier Messiaen. Messiaen was here in Utah 50 years ago researching this piece. He went to Bryce Canyon, Cedar Breaks, and Zion Canyon. There are great pictures of him out in the park with his beret on and his notebook, listening to birdsong and writing down the music, the birds that he heard. Birds were incredibly important to his language, especially from the 1950s on. Messiaen has a bunch of works dedicated just to birds. There's a huge 3-hour piano cycle called The Catalog of the Birds. And The Canyons to the Stars, well, certainly a lot of what I play in this piece is a kind of transcribed, harmonized birdsong played on the piano. So what we thought would be fun today would be to actually hear some side-by-side, which you won't have the chance to do in the concert, to hear how the bird sounds in the wild, and then how does it sound when it's played by the orchestra or by the solo piano. To give you a first example, there's the Graveyario, which I play in the third movement. So let's listen to what the Graveyario sounds like first. Okay, so the Graveyario is a series of short, disconnected gestures, right? And probably what you heard is, you're hearing one note at a time within this bird song. But what I play are actual chords. So you can hear how the two relate, but rather than playing just or something like that, I play like a very full harmony, sort of supporting the bird song, right? That's really the key to so much of what the pianist, plays in this piece. Okay, so another example from the same movement would be Townsend Solitaire. This is sort of a classic virtuoso bird song, right? Very fast and a series of very short, intricate gestures that are sort of strung together in a single melody. So let's hear what that sounds like. Okay, so when I play Townsend Solitaire in the orchestra, it sounds like this. So generally, I think the gestures that I play are a little bit shorter than the example that you just heard out in the wild. That brings into, I think, consideration another interesting point, which is some birds, their song is not really varied from animal to animal, but then other birds develop their song over the course of their life, right? So in a case of like a Townsend Solitaire, because we don't have access to the specific bird that Messiaen heard that day, then we might not really know exactly what he heard and how closely he notated. What I just played may actually closely resemble what he heard, right? Okay, and then for a last example, this is perhaps Messiaen taking a bird song and maybe having a more subjective response to what he's hearing. This is the Orchard Oriole. And let's just listen to it first. Okay, so again, just thinking about what the gesture that you just heard, there's a kind of swooping, again, I don't think singing these are a good idea, but this idea that there's a kind of brilliant gesture, and then a repeated note that falls. So it's kind of a something like that, right? And in Messiaen's version, that's going to be greatly slowed down. So just for comparison's sake, I'm going to play Messiaen's version fast once, just so you have the sound of the orchard oriole still in your ear. This is the Messiaen version. Now, that is not what it sounds like when I play it, actually. This is the way the second movement, the Orioles movement in the Canyons of the Stars, opens, and I actually play it much slower. The movement itself is a more lyrical, relaxed type of music. And so Messiaen, this is an example of where if you knew the sound of the Orchard Orioles song, you might not recognize it within the piece because I really do play it noticeably slower. So the whole point of this is that I hope a little bit of discussion about how these Messiaen thought of Birdsong and how he heard it in his head, that it's not rarely the sound of like a single bird. It is just one note at a time, that there's this sort of rich harmony supporting his interpretation of these sounds. Here at Utah Symphony, we're very excited about this project and really looking forward to playing it for you.